Hello ladies and gentlemen. So today I'm sitting in my 93 hatch. I haven't really done much with it yet. I tried vacuuming it out. It turned out a little bit better than it started out, but I still got a ton of stains. There's a ton of stains in the seats and stuff. I was gonna start shampooing it, but I don't really see the point until I get my sunroof sealed up. I think the weather strip's just crap. So until I do that, I don't really feel like cleaning it out just for it to get dirty again. So what I'm doing today though is you can't really tell during the daylight, but my like this half of the dash works. This half of the dash doesn't. Like the gauges function, they go up and stuff, but the lights back behind are burned out. I believe I have some that I've had for a while. I believe they're LEDs, like little bulbs to replace in there. But either way, I need to get this cluster out, see what I need to order, or see if I can replace them with what I've got. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove this cluster out. If I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've worked on a Fox, but there is, I don't know if you can see it, but there's 2 screws up the top of the cluster, bezel, I guess is what you would call this black part. And then there's 2 bolts. Let me see if I can see this. There's 2 bolts down underneath on this plastic part. It looks like one is missing. Looks like they're both missing. And then this part here should pop down probably after. Yeah, it should pop down. And then underneath, whenever I get underneath there, I'll show you. There's 2 more bolts to a metal like knee pad. So my process right now is I'm just gonna take those 2 bolts out up there. Maybe I can show you better through the windshield. Sorry about the windshield, it's super dirty. Yep, there's one there. There's one right there. They're either Torx bits, or I believe they're 7mm socket. So I have my 7mm sockets, 8mm socket. I got a little 1/4 inch ratchet wrench, plus I have my little 1/4 inch impact just to help speed things up. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the 2 bolts on top, remove the 2 bolts on bottom, and then I'll get back to you guys. Alright guys, so I got my bolts out from up top there. One came completely out, the other one's like completely loose. You can kind of see it there, but it's just still sitting in there. And I got to looking at this, and I don't see the reason for taking this off. I think I can just take this 2-piece deal off and be able to slide this out far enough that I can get the instruments away from behind there. So there's 2 Phillips screws up in these holes. There's one there and one underneath there. So I'm gonna run those out, take that off, and see if I can't get that cluster out. I mean, if I have to take this lower part off here, I will, but if I don't, I won't. Alright guys, so I went ahead and took off the 2-piece collar around my steering column. Just these two little Phillips screws came out. I do recommend kind of a longer screwdriver. I was trying to use my little screwdriver on the end of my gun, but it just wasn't long enough. So I took that 2-piece part off. The bottom part literally just fell off, and then the other part I just kind of had to work off a little bit. I noticed that when I took it off, I couldn't pull my cluster or my bezel off, and then I realized the reason that you had to take this bottom part off is because there's a bolt here and there's a bolt on the, if we can see it. Sorry, I keep blocking the camera. But there's a bolt right there. Both of mine were missing, but this side was a little hung up. So that's why I went ahead and took off that bottom plastic. There's normally a metal plate behind here, but mine is missing. So, yeah, I might just use the one out of my notch since I have an extra one so that everything goes back to the way it was supposed to be. So now I think, unless I'm hung up on something on the other side. Oh, and one thing I was gonna say is taking those two 7mm bolts from the top of the bezel off. I highly recommend a 7mm deep socket. The shorter ones you couldn't get over the like this hump right here of the bezel. So this was able to stick the socket up far enough that you could get a good ratcheting motion on it. So yeah, now let's see here, what am I hung up on? I guess my lights are on. So I think, yeah, it looks like there's another screw up underneath here. Yep, right there. Sorry, as I'm doing this, I kind of looked at some instructions for just like a minute. I'm kind of going off memory, and then some of it is kind of trial and error. I just want to learn, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that one bolt, and then I will come back. All right, guys, so I was moving along pretty good here, but once I got the cluster or the bezel kind of moved away, I couldn't figure out a good way to disconnect these wires back here on the back side. They're just, it's a pain to get back here. So what I figured out was, when this thing's tucked back in here, kind of like this, there's these two little clips. And you just, it's not necessarily easy, but it's not hard. You just kind of have to push on them and then work it out a little bit, and then kind of pull this side out a little bit, and then just kind of work it out. And now that I got this side out, I'm gonna have to release those wires back there, and then go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. Now I got both switches removed. Just gonna go ahead and lift this bezel off, move it out of the way, and then we will go ahead and there are four, they're either 7 or 8mm bolts or Torx bits. I think 1, 2, there's one here on the side, right there, if you can see it through that wire, and then another one tucked back underneath all that broken up stuff, that one right there. So I'll get that out, and then yep, I should be out, but I'll show you everything when I'm done. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I officially, hold on just a second here. I got my cluster out here. It's pretty rough. Everything did work though, like I said. I got dust and junk everywhere. But basically what I was going to show you is right there and right there is two plug-ins, and then your speedo cable plugs in right here. And it was just so tight up there, I didn't really have a good way of showing you, but I was going to show you now. So after you take those 4 bolts out from the 4 corners, these connectors, just you squeeze them and then they'll pop right out. This one was fairly easy, that one not so much. And then once you get those done, your cluster will slide away a little ways. And then this, your speedo cable, if you look here on top, there, this little tab right here, if you just push down on it, it'll slide away. So yep, I've got it out. I'm gonna get it cleaned up. I'm gonna take a look at these bulbs, see if I have what I need. They're really easy. They just half a turn and they, I don't know if that'll focus, but and then they slide out. So I'm probably just gonna go through and replace them. See, that's just set in there, and then you just turn half a turn, they're in. So I'm gonna go through and replace all these. I'll kind of show you as I do that. And then one thing I like to do, especially with these older cars, is I don't like to leave things the way they are just because, you know, of time or whatever. So I'm gonna, as best as I can without completely dissecting this thing, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe it all up, wipe all this junk out, because I really want it to go back better than it was. And so yeah. Alright guys, so I got my gauge cluster out. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of time and clean it up. It's pretty nasty. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to get it just because this plastic's pretty old. It's probably a little yellowed. It's got some scratches in it and whatnot. All I'm going to do is just use some auto glass cleaner, microfiber, and then I'm going to flip it over here real quick. I'm going to start popping these bulbs out one at a time. I don't know if that'll zoom. But anyways, most of them are pretty shot. Anyways, and then, so this is the basic just glass bulb. Hold on a second. This is the glass bulb that's in there now. And I'm going to go to these LEDs that I've had these around for a long time. I just kind of hope that they're still good. But yeah, hopefully it'll make my dash brighter, and hopefully my dash will just work now. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'll show you when I'm done what this thing sort of looks like, see if it looks any better. To take these plastics off, it's real easy. You just take all these bolts out around it until it comes off. What am I using here? I'm using a T15. I believe Torx is what fits those. So anyways, that's where I'm at. Alright guys, so I'm gonna start replacing my bulbs one by one. One thing I wanted to talk about real quick, this here's a blown bulb that I have. It's one I've already pulled. But a lot of people, and I've heard like parts dealers and whatnot, tell you not to touch the bulb portion because the grease from your fingers can make it blow or whatever, get hot and blow. So while I'm replacing these are what the LED ones look like. They look real fancy or whatnot. But I'm just gonna try and grab them all by the base just like this. So yeah, I'm just gonna do this one at a time. Here we go.